Hey, welcome back, Military Journeyman. This is part 3 of the Marines to Coast Guard video series. If you want to see the full playlist, I'll include it in the description box below, maybe somewhere up here, and let's just jump right on into this. The quality of life, what would you say life is like? How do you describe what life is like in the Marine Corps aspect?
It's probably the bottom of the barrel. Not saying that in a bad way because I know they do it on purpose. Like I said, like if the Marine Corps didn't have the hardest boot camp, they would make it the hardest. It's the same thing. Like Air Force, if they have to live in Marine Corps barracks, they get BAH because it's considered like unlivable quarters or something. Like the Marine Corps purposely makes things as difficult and hard as possible in order to build character, build strength, build personality, build leadership. You know what I mean? Like build a personal tolerance to other things. Coast Guard, they don't need to do that. Us over at the EOC, like we live a pretty solid life. Like they're all about self promotion. You know what I mean? Like we're given every opportunity to go out and get education or get certs, increase our education, go off and do tuition assistance and all that. I remember one time, right before my second deployment, they told us that we can apply for tuition assistance in the Marine Corps. And we were like, okay, awesome. This is going to be great. So it was University of Maryland, Asia, Okinawa. Like they had like a thing out there. The thumb's falling off. But so I only have that because I walked up to the office and I was trying to apply for it. So you know how if you want TA, you have to get your command approval? I walked up there to my command's office over in Okinawa. And I was like, hey, I applied for TA. Can you guys go and help me out with that? And they're like, no, we don't have time this deployment. Okinawa. Like there's Marine Corps bases there. It shouldn't even be considered a deployment. But they were like, no, we don't have any time. So we're going to go ahead and deny this, even though a month earlier they said that they would approve it. Your job comes first in regards to like yourself in the Marine Corps, which I mean, technically, I guess that applies everywhere, but they like kind of took it up another level. Like they moved things out of your personal life out of the way for your job. So like your job could take up this much of like a tub this big, but they're gonna be like, okay, well, we need the entire tub, even though your job is like this tiny 10% portion, but we're gonna need at least 90 more, just so like nothing interferes with your job. That's kind of a really bad analogy.
You know, the with like, from what I understand with the Coast Guard, it's like if you have some type of condition, if you have some type of like family thing, the Coast Guard does a pretty good job at like looking at your individual circumstance and trying to accommodate for that. Like if you're married and you're trying to get co-located, they'll try to work that out. If you have like a family emergency, like I was able to move back to Florida to be with my family. I was gonna go to a certain unit, but then they could reposition me. So it seems like the Coast Guard really does kind of care about the individual. How would you say that is compared to the Marine Corps?
I would almost consider myself a conspiracy theorist at this point, but I think the Marine Corps is purposely bad. Like I said, they have like a 4% retention rate when the Coast Guard is the polar opposite. And the only reason people get out of the Coast Guard is because they have better jobs lined up, like that pay more. The Coast Guard doesn't need a lot of senior leadership. You know what I mean? Like they have brainwashing down to a T, which is a good thing. I'm not gonna like as you can see, I'm still kind of brainwashed. They just need young people to do young people things. Like after 4 years, your body kind of breaks down a little bit. You start complaining a bit more. You know what I mean? Like you're smart, you understand the tactics, strategy. You have all these courses underneath your belt. So great, yeah, it would be awesome for you to reenlist. But what are you going to do afterward? Are you going to be a cop that knows how to swim really good? Are you going to be a cop who just so happened to be like a marksmanship coach in the Marine Corps? Like it's just kind of like it's a fun thing to do that's not too good for your long-term career, unless you're like a private military contractor. But I think the Marine Corps doesn't care if you reenlist. They don't care because their quotas for recruitment are always full. So they don't need you, and they make it very apparent, and it kind of hurts my feelings a little bit. You know what I mean? Because you invest so much of yourself into an organization that doesn't care, and they make it very obvious. Um, Coast Guard, they want to retain you, and they make that very obvious. Like our job, like the officers who run our unit are some of the best officers I've ever seen. They're some of the smartest people I've ever seen, and it is extremely impressive. They give you all these incentives and stuff. They're like, please stay with us. And like the more education and the more certs that you get, the more valuable you become. And they like start offering these reenlistment bonuses, and they swapped out our chairs, so now we have super comfy chairs. Like it's just the little things, you know. It's like the comfort of living. And the only reason that you would not want to stay is because you got a job over at Boeing or something, like making $300,000 a year. You're like, I really appreciate it, guys. I had a great time here, but I'm gonna go off and do bigger and better things. You know what I mean? So it's like such a drastic thing, like from one organization that doesn't need you because they got other people lined up versus one organization who invests a lot of time and money into you, and they're like, please stay. You know, it's nice.
The I mean, yeah, that seems like a very black and white, very contrast difference between a service that does have a lot lower of a retention versus a service that does have a high retention. And I think it's pretty cool that you could point out some of those things. But like, what about the people? Because you're coming, you know, your perspective is from the infantry, and I know that that's kind of hard to you know, know about like the other what the other side of the Marines do, but like if you could rejoin the Marines, is there like another part of the Marines that it's like kind of similar to the Coast Guard, or like is there some type of better work-life balance, or is that kind of pretty similar across the board?
You see, I don't really remember seeing too many sad admin personnel like the Coast Guard's version of yeoman. I don't remember seeing too many of those guys being sad. I know there's like a lot of odd niche jobs. Like there's bulk refueler, there's water purification specialist. But I joined the infantry specifically to like prove to myself that I could do it. You know what I mean? Like you take like the hardest job in the military and you're like, I'm gonna do that. So it was like more of a pride factor for me. So if I could go back and do it all over again, knowing what I know, I would still do infantry just because it's a pride based thing. And that's like one thing. I'm not sure how the other like support and air wings see it, but like the infantry is 100% revolved around pride.
So I mean, there's a lot of people. Like I know so many people that they're like, I want to join the Marines. I want to join the Marines, and you know, infantry. Um, so you're saying that kind of the biggest reason that you would join the Marines and go infantry, and why you'd choose that over maybe something else is mostly just like of a pride thing.
Definitely a pride thing because the Army has an infantry. You know what I mean? Like, why not join the Army infantry? People join the Marine Corps infantry for the pride of it. You know what I mean? Because they have such a big influence on like popular media, movies, video games, everything. Like you say Marine and it has like weight attached to it. You say like Army soldier and everybody's like, okay, there's like a million of those guys. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a pride-based organization, and it's why a lot of people join it.
Now, I know that things have probably changed since you left the Marine Corps, but one of the big things that is really different in the Coast Guard, you know, everybody in the Coast Guard, they say, oh, you know, we're getting PC, you know, everything's PC now. You can't say things, you can't do things, you know, things that might have been acceptable before in the Coast Guard, you know, maybe like that camaraderie, maybe, you know, what's now just like hazing. In the Marine Corps, you have a very different experience with that than like, let's say when I joined the Coast Guard, you know, they were really like no hazing, no bullying, no none of that. And if you do, like, command's going to come down and they're just going to attack everybody and make sure that people are reprimanded. But your experience, because we joined the service around the same time, is a little bit different. Do you mind talking about some of that goes on in the Marine Corps?
Okay, so the Marine Corps, so the hazing thing isn't even to build camaraderie, it's to create a 100% stressful environment, and they want to see you break. If you do break, then you're considered weak and you're not a part of the boys. So another big thing, just to put this whole story in context, I have never worked with a female until I joined the Coast Guard. So boot camp, all male. SOI, the School of Infantry, all male. The fleet, all male. Like the entire 4 years, all male. Never even seen. Well, I've
Is
seen
is
them, but
is
I never
that is
worked
that is that a thing that they just don't let females join, or is it because
because it was
they
combat
suck?
arms. So
Okay.
I think it was like a big thing. I think they've let like a few of them in or something since I got out. But so it was like the boys' club. So there was like a bunch of, it wasn't PC. It was the polar opposite of PC, but it was fun because it's like no one's gonna get offended, and if you're offended, then you're just not a part of the boys anymore. You know what I mean? So it's like even if you were offended, you're just gonna sit back and bite your tongue just so you don't get ostracized from the group. So I guess if you were offended, it would probably be pretty bad. Same thing. So going back to the hazing aspect, it's not hazing via camaraderie. It's hazing because they want to see if you will break under immense stress, which the job will create. So if you can't handle somebody yelling at you or hitting you or something, then you're probably not going to handle getting shot at too well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the last thing that I kind of want to hit on the quality of life for your work. Like with the Coast Guard, we're always getting emails like against like no hazing and stuff like that, and that was kind of a big thing that when we were talking that was like really kind of stuck out to me was that the Coast Guard is very adamant on this type of environment that they're trying to create. What how does that compare to the Marines? Like, were you getting those emails like? Did you have to do like that type of mandated training where it's like don't say these things, the no harassment training, blah blah blah, or was that just like not really endorsed? Or
It was endorsed by it was endorsed by the command. Now the so our company office was about a mile away from our barracks. So they could say things, doesn't mean we're going to follow it. Now we had annual training too. I think every branch has annual training where it's like, oh, don't say this to this person, don't make fun of this, don't say these things, and these are your rights. You know what I mean? Like those type of annual training things. Just click through them real fast, and it's like nobody actually learns anything from them unless you were like genuinely interested in it, or maybe it actually affected you. You would actually learn about it. But otherwise, I mean, it's just like any other annual training. You just click through it until it says accomplished, and then you go about with your business. So our command, so we never got emails. Like that wasn't a thing. Like I didn't get a Marine Corps email. Like I didn't have one of those. So instead of, how the Coast Guard sends out the all Coast Guard emails about like hazing or something or major events, take that email and turn it into an old first sergeant who just comes in. Those are what the morning formations are. The afternoon and morning formations, those are our emails. You know what I mean? The guy comes in, he's like, hey guys, we got word from division, like no more hazing. We had like 3 hazing incidences last week. We had like 2 DUIs, like stop drinking and driving. It's like, oh, thanks. Now that you said stop drinking and driving, I'm going to stop drinking and driving. It's like, you take it with a grain of salt, but it's like also at the same time, you get like a scope of how all the other units around you are doing. So it's kind of weird because it's like each barrack is a company. So like Golf Company had their own barracks that were like 50 feet away from Easy Company's barracks. And then 50 feet from that was Fox Company's barracks. And we're all doing our own thing. You know what I mean? Like we're all getting off at separate times. We're all in the same battalion. Like we all know each other. Like we talk, we're neighbors essentially. And then right across the street, you have like 2-6 or something. You know what I mean? Like a whole different unit that has a whole different battalion. It's like their world is 180 degrees different than yours. So it's weird to be like in so like word travels fast in the infantry community. So like we would hear about like all these hazing incidences. We heard one time that one of the companies were nothing but SOI drops, and they had like 3 seniors, which are people who have been in longer than like a year and a half or 2 years. And apparently that unit was like going down the drain. Like their command was getting relieved because they didn't know how to like handle all these people. It was crazy. So like as far as like how we handled all the hazing and things, it's kind of like individual. Like whatever company you get, it could be totally opposite than my experiences. You know what I mean? It's weird.
Now, the last topic that I want to hit on is the benefits. You brought up using the tuition assistance and how that was something that you weren't really kind of given the option to do that. But with the benefits in the Coast Guard versus the Marines, do you mind kind of going off of that as well? Hope you guys liked this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you're enjoying these, just smash that like button for me. Let me know that you are enjoying these conversations. If you want to see the full interview of this series, I'll include it right here. Or if you want to keep watching something else, you can watch this right here. Until next time, peace out. Hope you guys liked this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you're enjoying these, just smash that like button for me. Let me know that you are enjoying these conversations. If you want to see the full interview of this series, I'll include it right here. Or if you want to keep watching something else, you can watch this right here. Until next time, peace out.